Sports shape lives, build communities, and drive billion-dollar industries. Yet their true impact often goes unnoticed.
From personal growth and well being to career potential, it's time to rethink what sports can do. This is the Why Not Sports podcast. Welcome to the Why Not Sports podcast, a podcast where we dive into the business and community side of sports. Today, we are honored to welcome Federico Muyshondt.
Federico Muyshondt is the CEO of BodyArmor Sports Nutrition, a leading brand in the sports drink industry known for its commitment to innovation, hydration, and better-for-you performance beverages. With decades of experience in the consumer packaged goods and beverage sectors, Muyshondt has played a pivotal role in expanding BodyArmor's market presence and strengthening its position as a top competitor in the sports hydration space. Before joining BodyArmor, he graduated from Texas A&M University with a degree in marketing and management, and later completed his MBA from Rice. Throughout his career, he's held key leadership roles at major global brands, including Chobani and Danone, where he gained extensive expertise in brand building, strategic growth, and distribution. Beyond his work at BodyArmor, Muyshondt is passionate about the intersection of health, performance, and consumer trends, working to shape the future of hydration for athletes and everyday consumers alike. His leadership has been instrumental in driving BodyArmor's evolution as a powerhouse in the sports drink industry.
Federico, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you guys. Thanks for having me, Joaquin Enzo. It's a pleasure.
Absolutely. And Federico, the first question that we love to start off with is what's your sports story?
All right, my sports story. I would love to say, guys, that my sports story is still unfolding. It's still in development. I'll tell you why it's come full circle, but it's definitely still unfolding as we speak. As a kid, first of all, I grew up in El Salvador, Central America, and I didn't come to A&M until after high school. And I'll tell you that story later. But yeah, growing up in El Salvador, I grew up playing soccer, the main sport, live, breathe, and eat soccer. It's a soccer country. So that's what I played the most. But I was exposed to other sports. Believe it or not, the NFL wasn't that popular in the 80s when I was growing up. But I was exposed to the NBA when it was blowing up during the MJ era, and I was exposed to MLB and in terms of American sports. And I became a huge Chicago Bull and Yankee fan. The story is quite simple. It's you only had access to certain teams based on whatever was on cable, right? So in the NBA at the time, you either had the Bulls, the Celtics, or the Lakers. So you kind of had to pick one. And, Jordan was coming up, still young. So I obviously picked the Bulls and a big Michael Jordan fan. And then I picked the Yankees over the Dodgers. And I see the Yankee hat back there. By the way, the Yankees were extremely frustrating to follow in the 1980s until 96 when Jeter and Mariano and Pettit and all those guys, Posada came into play. The Yankees didn't win much of anything, for many years. So, but MJ was front and center for me. And if you can see in the background, I'm a big fan of this guy. And I'll tell you why my whole sports story came full circle, because I now work for a company that he founded, Kobe Bryant. And the reason I became a massive Kobe Bryant fan is because, at least in my mind, and I think in the mind of many others, he gave me another 16 years of Michael Jordan. If you look at Jordan's career, Jordan started in 84. I believe his first retirement or his second retirement was in 98. Then he came and played for the Wizards a few years, but Kobe started his career just when Jordan was exiting his career. And if you look at the style of play, if you look at the killer mindset on the court, I think they were a very, very similar player. Maybe Kobe perfected the mindset, when he reinvented himself as the Black Mamba, and then he came up with the Mamba Mentality and put it in paper. But yeah, he gave me an additional 16 years of Jordan, and I really, really appreciate that. Personally, growing up, guys, I think I was above average at every sport. Never great, but I could hang in every sport. Like I got to start in my varsity soccer team. I got to start in the basketball team. I played handball, which is not the handball you play against the wall, but the handball that looks like a hockey game with like a kind of soccer basketball combination. But I could hang. I had fun. I was never great. I was good enough, but I was a big fan. And fast forward to today, I think sports, it's a great tool in today's business world. It's a great tool because there's the team aspect of sports that you're going to find in the business world. There's the mindset aspect of sports that eventually translates into the business world. There's the work ethic and the discipline in sports. If you want to be really good, that also translates directly, into the business world. You guys are about to, graduate in May and December. So, but believe it or not, there's a physical part of sports that maybe you guys won't realize in your early 20s, but there's a physical part of being a corporate athlete that is super important. So to me, it is extremely important to stay fit, stay healthy, always always be involved in sports one way, shape, or another, just because it'll give you the endurance to be a better corporate athlete, you know? So overall, I think, you know, life is a sport, the business world is a sport, and everything applies. So the fact that I get to do now what I do, which is I really combined my passion for an industry like consumer packaged goods, to be able to combine it with my childhood passion, which was sports, is really a dream come true. So that's a little bit about my life story, my sports story. I would tell you one thing: it was Texas A&M that taught me football, because I was, like I told you guys, big soccer fan, player, big into MLB and the NBA. When I got to A&M, I remember orientation. I think half of it, or more than 75% of it, was learning about Aggie football and learning all the chants and learning all that stuff. So I took a crash course on football during orientation, and then my 4 years there. It is now the sport that I follow the most, college football. I love it. I love Aggie football, and it's what I wait for the most. I'm still Yankee fan, a Bulls fan, unfortunately now. But anyway, so look, I hope that my sports story has a great ending, because my sports story will come full circle, super full circle, when eventually we take the two brands that I manage, which is BodyArmor and Powerade, to become number one. And that's what we're focused on here at BodyArmor Sports Nutrition, is to ultimately become number one in sports hydration. And we have a very clear path to become number one and beat the big Goliath that has been there leading the way for 65 years. You know, so we're going to do that with BodyArmor, which is a great brand that disrupted the category, and then with Powerade, which we also manage. And I think, you know, this 1 + 1 = 3 type of thing, where two brands are better than one. We're blessed to be part of the Coca-Cola company now, and just to have the backing of an iconic company like Coke is just, you know, something that we're very, very, very happy with. So that's how I want my sports story to end, with the number one at the, you know, at the tail end of it.
Yeah, for sure. So kind of looking back, how did the sports story start? What led you to take the position at BodyArmor?
Look, I had been in CPG, or consumer packaged goods, for pretty much my entire career after A&M. So it's been about 22 years, I guess, since I graduated. So for 22 years, I've been in the space. I've worked for many companies. You guys mentioned some of them. I started my career at Procter & Gamble. I worked at Frito-Lay, which is part of PepsiCo, which is now a competitor of ours, right? Then moved to Danone, Danone, then Chobani, and then here. So I think I did a couple things in my career, guys. The first one is I always tried, or I was trying to go to I wouldn't say necessarily smaller company, but definitely more entrepreneurial. So started super big, very process oriented, and tried to move to a more entrepreneurial world. The second one is I kept moving towards a place that aligned more with my beliefs and my values, particularly when it comes to health and wellness, you know? So I really got enamored with, you know, the microbiome and cultured and probiotics and prebiotics and cultured dairy. And that's why I made the move to Danone and eventually Chobani, because I strongly believe that we are what we eat and we are what we drink. And representing a brand that aligns with your core values and your beliefs of what is good and what is bad, I think that was a big part of it. But I was having a blast at Chobani, and I randomly got a call about this brand that had just been sold to Coca-Cola. And I'm like, yeah, of course I know it. I loved Kobe. I had a lot of respect for the founder of BodyArmor, that, by the way, is the same guy who founded Vitamin Water and Smart Water. So he's a titan in the industry. Like, this guy is a beast. And so I knew Kobe. I knew about the founder, and I'm like, wow. And now it's owned by Coca-Cola. Like, it's the best of three worlds. The industry that I love, Ford, Kobe, and now owned by a massive corporation that is just, awesome. So, so as hard as that was to leave a great place like Chobani, that's what brought me here. To me, it was just an opportunity, which ultimately, as you guys start your careers, you're gonna have to kind of figure that out, right? Like, how do you get to a place where you do what you're good at, and you guys will figure out what you guys are really good at, and then what you really like. And if you can combine both, like, there is no freaking way, believe me when I say this, there's no way that if you combine what you like with what you're good at, you're going to be successful. So I couldn't pass up the opportunity, and here I am. It's been 3 years. It's been 3 years almost, and on May 1st, and it's been a great ride.
Absolutely. And you've kind of you kind of went into it a little bit, but embracing that underdog mentality, drawing parallels between BodyArmor and Texas A&M and Kobe Bryant's Mamba mentality. So how has that mindset influenced the way you lead, the way that you compete, and the way that you've built BodyArmor over the the last 3 years to be a true challenger brand that wants to go to the top of the mountain?
Yeah, actually, now that you asked that, if you look at my career, I also went from leading companies to challenger companies, and that's been a huge part of it. So absolutely, I think there's a universal element to the underdog mentality. I bet you $1,000,000 that both of you have been an underdog at some point in your careers. Actually, at some point in your academic career, at some point in sports, at some point even in the family dynamic. You've been an underdog to a brother or a sister or something. So it's a feeling that we can all identify with, and that's super powerful. In sports, if you think about it, most people, most fans, if they don't have an adjacency to a team, you will end up finding yourself rooting for the underdog, right?
Yeah.
Look at March Madness right now. I'm sure like you're always rooting for the underdog. If it's not A&M playing, you're going to root for the underdog and root for the upset. So we can all relate to that feeling. I think that's magical. That's number one. Not only in my career, if you look at it, did I go from leader to challenger? I think it aligns a lot with who I am. And I find more joy in being a challenger and an underdog than being the leader, Now, when you're an underdog and you win, there's no better feeling than that. Like, so the victories are just that much more special. It's extra special. Your day-to-day is different. We wake up every single day and go to bed every single night thinking about how to beat the big competitor. And I think it drives a hunger that it doesn't necessarily, a fire in your belly and a hunger that it doesn't necessarily drive when you're a leader. Now, don't get me wrong. Like the whole goal here is to become number one. And at some point, that's the hardest part is when you get to number one, how do you keep that killer mindset? And how do you keep that underdog mentality, right? So one thing that we talk a lot about here at BodyArmor, it's obviously Kobe, the Mamba mentality. And if you think about the core tenet of the Mamba mentality is the obsession of getting better every day. Kobe used to say at the end of every night, just ask yourself, did I get better today? And if the answer is yes, you will not only over a long period of time accomplish your goals, but eventually reach your dreams. And that word obsession is super important for there's a quote that says, the interested will watch the obsessed change the world. And if you think about Kobe wasn't interested in winning championships. Kobe wasn't interested in being the best. This guy was a maniac. He was obsessed. So that's the type of fire that I think an underdog drives in all of us, and there's a unifying factor in having one big common enemy. We have 450 people here at the company. We may be very, very different. We may have different political views. We may have different families. We might live in different areas of the country, whatever. We might be very different people, but we have one big thing in common, which is that common enemy, that big guy that we're going after. And I think that's a beautiful thing. I think A&M has that mindset, and you guys tell me, I was there 22 years ago, but like, at least when I was there, it was always like the big school in Austin and we are the underdogs. You could argue that in many ways we are much better than the school in Austin, but we will never, as Aggies, come across that way, or at least think that, we always have the scrappy underdog mindset, that we have something to overcome. And I think that's what makes Aggies so special everywhere. And that's what makes following Aggie sports so special, and even academics, so the 4 years there and following A&M sports for so long, like I think it's been part of the development process.
Yeah, absolutely. So with that kind of scrappy nature ingrained in BodyArmor, what are some kind of recent innovations or developments that have resulted as a result of that and led to the success of BodyArmor?
Look, I think the sky is the limit in terms of how the brand can grow. I like to say BodyArmor is the biggest brand in the grocery store that not enough people know about, which is crazy. I mean, it's a big brand. I mean, BodyArmor, guys, sells over $1 billion, so it's a big brand, but in a big category too. And so the number one challenge for us is to drive awareness of BodyArmor. Like literally, like it sounds very simple, but how do you tell people what BodyArmor is, who it is, and what it stands for? So there's 4 brand promises that we have as a brand. And when I mention these 4 brand promises, I think you'll understand how we're ahead of the curve, how I truly believe that BodyArmor is the drink of the future. And when we talk about the better than yesterday that I just mentioned, we think the big competitor is yesterday. We think they're obsolete. We think they've never changed. We think they're outdated. And BodyArmor is the future. BodyArmor, we believe in 4 things, and there are 4 brand promises, as we call them, that will never deviate from, and I think make us very special. The first one is we stand for superior hydration. In our space, that means quality and quantity of electrolytes. So if you look at a BodyArmor will typically have more electrolytes than the competition, and the quality of electrolytes, because it's potassium based, most electrolytes out there are sodium-based. These are potassium-based electrolytes. The quality is much better. Second, we're better for you. If you look at a BodyArmor, if you look at the ingredient label on a BodyArmor, you're going to find vitamin C, you're going to find zinc, you're going to find magnesium, you're going to find all the vitamin Bs. Like it's a super drink. The third one, look, super subjective, but we believe we taste better than anyone else. And the reason why we believe that is we have coconut water in our product that makes it not only real hydration, there's no better hydration, pure hydration than coconut water. So the fact that we have coconut water, Enzo, you're from Brazil, so you know this. You know, it's an amazing electrolyte source and an amazing natural electrolyte or hydration mechanism, coconut water, but the taste is phenomenal, and combined with all the natural flavors, it's awesome. So we taste better. And then the last one is super important to us, which is nothing artificial. You will never see artificial dyes, colors, or sweeteners in a BodyArmor. So, you know, you must be, 21, 22 years old. The way you guys know how to read labels, your generation knows how to read nutritional labels 50 times better than I could. Like when I was in college, I would look at, I guess I would look at calories, and maybe we were starting to understand grams of sugar. You guys know how to calculate sugar and net carbs and this and that, the other. So you guys can understand and appreciate the goodness of BodyArmor, all the good stuff that we have, but all the bad stuff that we don't have. So it's this world where we added a lot of positives and took out a lot of negatives, and that's the magic of the product. And I think we're still ahead of our times, but you're starting to hear a lot more. The broader public started to realize how this is an actual thing. So you asked me about the next 5 years. I think the next 5 years, our main focus needs to be to tell our story. Who is BodyArmor? Why are we unique? Why are we different? Eventually, you drive awareness as a marketer to be able to drive conversion and trial at the store, which means purchases. And there's no better way than driving awareness and trial than with the muscle of the Coca-Cola system and the Coca-Cola company that is delivering products firsthand to every store in the country through 64 bottlers. We have the best execution machine in the history of the world in consumer packaged goods with Coca-Cola. So there's no better way, so we'll do our part, and then the Coca-Cola system does their part: awareness, distribution, execution, and we'll get there.
Yeah, so kind of driving on to that awareness point, I know a growing trend in the industry is using athletes in order to promote products. I see BodyArmor has been pretty revolutionary in that. I know recent deals with Jalen Brunson, Connor McDavid. What has your viewpoint been on that aspect, and kind of where do you see that going?
Yeah, look, I think in the world of sports, it is important. Athlete partners have been historically important to drive credibility of the brand, because good athletes won't partner with you if you're not the real deal. We've been evolving a lot in the way we look at partnerships, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that. But our athlete partners, we don't see them as endorsement deals. I honestly think that the endorsement deal era is obsolete. They are truly partners. And when we do deals with the likes of Joe Burrow or CD Lamb, or you mentioned Connor or Jalen Bronson or Ryan Blaney, who I absolutely love. We're looking for partners that can help us co-create the future of BodyArmor. So yes, of course they're gonna be on our Instagram page, and they're gonna be on TikTok and be on our commercials. But at the end of the day, we see Team BodyArmor as the experts that are gonna help us drive the future of the brand. What other products can we develop? What functional areas are they looking for that we can work on? Because at the end of the day, the world of competitive sports, it's only getting more competitive, and it's also getting very level, right? So athletes are more and more looking for every single inch of opportunity to get an edge, right? And you are what you eat, you are what you drink. Hydration and food are a big part of how athletes get their edge. So we put a lot of emphasis on that, guys. It's not only the hot thing and market our product and do a couple posts. It's, can you help us really co-create the future of BodyArmor? We link the athletes a lot with our innovation team. Our innovation team is always looking for ways to make our products better, more functional, come up with new stuff, expand our range of products. In the last year, I'm sure you've seen new items that we've launched, like Flash IV, which is a rapid rehydration. And also BodyArmor didn't have a zero sugar item, believe it or not. So both have been extremely successful in the marketplace. So we've kind of done this with our athletes. Now, at the same time, we have our innovation team, works with some schools, believe it or not, athletic departments. Unfortunately, not A&M, but some other SEC schools. We do a lot of cool work where we do a lot of clinical studies, a lot of work to come up with great products. We just did a partnership partnership with U.S. Soccer, both men and women's U.S. Soccer Federation. They're building a massive facility in Atlanta, Georgia, where we're actually going to have an R&D lab there to be working with athletes every single day and monitoring their hydration, monitoring their, their performance and all that stuff. So, it's personalization on steroids. So we love our partners. Now, another step that we've taken that I find super interesting is just how we've now gotten to this place where I don't know if you know this, but we just did a couple partnerships last year or 2 years ago. We started a partnership with Barstool Sports. You're familiar with that platform. We also signed a deal. I love this deal because we met through an Aggie connection with Dude Perfect. So Dude Perfect, all the dudes graduated from A&M, I think in the 2010 or 2009. But anyways, we signed a deal with them, and we just recently last month announced a deal with Savannah Bananas. So all three of these are very different than in the past, very different than the typical athlete, because these three partners are rooted in sports, but they're in the entertainment world, and most of their, call it, exposure is in social media. So we've really perfected that, and man, it's been phenomenal. Back to where I started the previous question, in terms of awareness of the brand, it's moved up the needle of how many people know about BodyArmor because of Barstool. We hear this so much. Oh, I saw you at Barstool, or the Dude Perfect guys posted something, and then the Bananas are going to start doing a lot of cool stuff. So it's an evolving game. It's an evolving game, but they're a very important part of it. My biggest point would be we're not doing it just to get a post or a commercial here or there. It has to be a real partnership.
Absolutely. And Federico, I'm really curious, you have a really impressive career. You work with some really cool brands, but what are some of the biggest leadership lessons that you've learned, that took you to this point? And obviously it's always learning progress, right? Like I have a mentor here at A&M that always tells me that, you stop becoming a better leader when you stop learning. And so for you, what are some of those biggest lessons that you've gone in your career, whether it was at Chobani and Canon or now at BodyArmor?
Well, look, your mentor, I think, was very smart. I think it doesn't matter if you're 22 or you're 65. If you're not stimulating yourself to continue to learn and challenge yourself, you're doing something wrong. So you need to kind of take a step back and figure out what's going on. I'll tell you a couple things that I wish someone would have told me when I was your age. I was at some point, I kind of either I was told or figured it out. The first one, I would say, in terms of advice, I would say follow the inputs, not the outputs. Super simplified, guys. What that means is follow the experiences, not the money. Because, the input is, follow cool experience, follow challenging experiences. Make sure that you do as much as you can across different functions, right? Across different industries. Early on in your careers, make sure, like I told you, do what you love and do what you're good at. Follow good leaders. You'll hear this, I'm sure, like it's not the company you work for, it's the leaders you work for. So those are all inputs, experiences, cross-functional experiences, leaders that you guys can learn from, companies that represent your values. That is far more important. But sometimes we just focus so much on the money side because don't get me wrong, like we all want to make money, right? At the end of the day, that's why we went to school. That's why we go take a job, is to try to maximize our earning potential. My advice is be patient, focus on the inputs. You guys will make money in your 40s if you round yourselves really well and just focus on the inputs and the experiences in your 20s and 30s. That's the first one. I'm not going to belabor this point, but find what you're good at and what you like and then go like 1,000 miles an hour. The last one I would say is, and this doesn't mean don't be competitive. It just means don't compete against others. I've learned this the hard way, and I've learned this, throughout my career. We tend to play that comparison game, and we tend to compete against peers, and that's a losing proposition, because there will always be someone that's smarter than you, a better student than you, better looking than you. Like there's always going to be something or someone that is better than you. So don't compete against them, compete against yourself. And again, did I become better than yesterday? Yes or no? That's who you're competing against, and if you do that and you forget about the external, because there will be always a guy or gal that gets a promotion before you, and if that pisses you off and if that throws you into a different mental state, you're on focus on yourself, better than yesterday, and go all in. So I would summarize learnings into those three.
No, that's such a good point. My brother used to do track in high school, and one day my mom was like, go do track with him because you're not doing anything here today. And I was like, okay, I'll go. And I only went for one day, but I always remember the coach said, if you want to run for my team, I only have one rule, and it was to not look back. Like not look back when you're running, to not. And his point was basically, I don't care if you're running towards somebody, but if you're looking back, you're comparing. And if you're comparing, you're going to get behind.
You're gonna slow down, right? Smart guy. Yeah.
Exactly. So, I think about it like, Tom Brady grew up in the Bay, grew up in San Francisco. his idol was Joe Montana, and that's kind of Brady's whole thing too, is, I am beating myself every day. I want to be the best version of myself. If Tom Brady said, my idol John Montana, that's who I'm looking up to, that's how I need to catch, then he would have stopped at 4 and been fine. No, but he was like, no, the best version of myself, is that keeps going and keeps chasing. I mean, he got to 7, and, before the Super Bowl, everybody was like, oh, how do you feel about Patrick Mahomes? And, is he next? Like, what does he have to do? And he said, listen, for him to be able to do that, he has to beat himself. He has to focus on being the best version of himself. So I think that's a really good point and a really good insight, Federico.
And that's I would say the toughest part, because especially when you find success, how do you keep that drive and energy, right? If I were to add one thing to advice, guys, I would say surround yourself with people that are better than you. Because if you surround yourself with people that won't make you better, then you're not challenging yourself, right? So get rid of the friends that are bad influence, get rid of, anything that's bad for you, and surround yourself with people that elevate you, actually be the eternal underdog. But if you keep surrounding yourself with good people, you're in that competition against yourself, you're only going to be better, right? So in your example, run with guys that are super, much faster than you. I bet you that they're still going to kick your ass, but you're going to be much faster because of it. So that's yeah, Brady, you know what, what I think is special about him, of course, he's a tall guy, he's I would say he's the GOAT for sure, but he's so disciplined even to this day as a commentator, an owner, I guess. The guy is disciplined with his workout, with his eating, with his, bedtime, with his wake up time. Like he's just extremely disciplined. He still behaves like an athlete even after his playing days. So he's amazing, that guy.
Yeah, absolutely. And Federico, I think we listened to you speak one time, and you brought up something that was really personal and I thought really important. You said that outside of, some career things, the most important decision that you'll make in your life is who you choose to marry. And so kind of for you, you've gone to a lot of cool companies, like I'm sure you've bounced around a lot the US. How has that decision paid off for you, and how important is it to your personal life?
Yes, it's not the best decision I've ever made. It's the best thing that's ever happened to me. Just, that's another good advice. Marry up, boys. But yes, no, look, it's amazing, but it goes back to surrounding yourself with people that are better than you. I was lucky enough to find a beautiful wife that one has elevated me. We've been married for 14 years. She's elevated me from day one to become a better person. She was a healthier person. She was a much more athletic person. So she kind of helped me go into this health and wellness fitness journey. And then we had beautiful kids. I have a daughter that's 13 and a boy that's 10. And, just seeing her be a mom and us being parents together, it's just, again, just like work or just like in the athletic space, like it's been a learning opportunity for me. So it is by far the best decision that you guys will make. And I think when we chatted at A&M, I said, school is important, who you work for is important, your friends definitely super important, but who you decide to make your life partner is by far the most important. And don't rush into it, because eventually, I married late. I think I was 30 when I got married. So I was in no rush. Actually, if you would have asked me at 28, like, do you want to get married? I would have said, no, I want to be single till 45. I was in New York City, enjoying my life. So, but then one day I met her and I'm like, wow, this is it. And it's been the best thing ever, man. It has rounded my life, has rounded my professional life, my personal life. It's been great.
Absolutely. And if you don't mind me asking, how did you guys meet?
We met in New York City. We met online, believe it or not. It's back in the day, it was not swipe left or swipe. It was like you had to read a whole profile, and it was like, old school online dating. But we were super close to one another geographically. Like we were in New York City, both in the Upper West Side, maybe 10, 12 blocks from one another. There is no way we would have met, but we ended up meeting each other. And this is a funny story. I opened an account and she was the first person I met, and she was the first date I went on, and that was that. So it was a very useful, very efficient membership.
Yeah, very efficient model. No, absolutely. And Federico, as we're winding down the podcast, I know you've already touched on it a little bit, but what do you look for in people that want to join BodyArmor, right? Like, what advice would you give to students, entrepreneurs, like people that want to join the sports industry, particularly on the consumer side, right? Like, how do you get the people that want to go into it, and how do you distinguish the all-stars?
That's a great question. It's not rocket science, but I truly believe in this. I'm always looking for people that agree and believe that hard work works. I want to find individuals that want to work their butts off. One of the mindset principles at BodyArmor Sports Nutrition here is out hustle the competition. And at the end of the day, like, the world is full of smart people. Likely, I don't know, maybe the competition is smarter than us. I don't know, but I can tell you one thing. I'm looking for people that will just outwork the competition. And so think about what I'm saying to you, and then I could be saying that to a sports team, or I could be saying that to professionals at an office. But hard work works, and I want hard workers. And if you want a 9 to 5 job, great, go find it. I'm totally cool with that. It's just not going to be here, because this requires obsession. Obsession to become number one will require a lot of hard work. So this is not for the faint of heart. I tell people that all the time. Another good trait is, believe me, this is a constant quest that you need to make sure you don't fall into. But don't be a victim. I don't like victimhood. And at the end of the day, life is hard. Like Rocky Balboa says, life will punch you in the face, over and over again. And you just need to keep getting up and getting up and up and up. So another mindset principle of ours is adversity as your fuel. There are individuals that can change adversity and convert that into fuel or energy. That is special. And you can see that when you interview people or talk to people, that they've taken negative stuff in their lives and flipped them into positives or motivators. And that's phenomenal. I talked to you guys about, surrounding yourself with people that are better than you. And then discipline, I would say, is something that I look for when I talk to candidates as well. I ask a lot about, discipline. I would ask you guys discipline as a student. Tell me about your studying habits. How do you learn? How do you process? How do you prepare for a test? I would be asking you a lot of questions about preparation. But then I would ask you questions about discipline with working out, or discipline with fitness, or discipline with eating. Because those are traits and characteristics that translate from one place to the other. If you're a disciplined student, it is very likely that you will be a disciplined worker, or an associate or a contributor. So that's what I would advise you guys. But it's a constant, you're going to continue to learn, and eventually you will make it your own program, right? You can customize it with what works for you. It's going to be unique to you guys.
Awesome. Federico, thank you so much for joining us. As we kind of finish this out, is there anyone that you want to send some good bull to, send a shout out to as we finish it up?
No, guys, I'm super grateful for the opportunity, first of all. Big shout out to all the Aggies, man. It's a very special network, and you guys reached out, said, hey, can we do this? I'll never say no, or will never not reply to an Aggie reaching out to me wherever they, if they text me or they LinkedIn me, whatever, I will always be there for Aggies. And that's the very, very special thing about the Aggie network. It's huge, and we care for each other. So shout out to all the Aggies. Reach out, find me on LinkedIn, reach out. Believe me, maybe I'll take a few days to answer, but I will answer. And boys, help me spread the word on BodyArmor. We need to create awareness. Tell people about it. Tell people how great it is. Tell people how they can make their today better than their yesterday. By the way, I believe this with every bone in my body, that whenever someone picks up a BodyArmor over the competition, they are making one micro decision that is going to make their today better than yesterday. So help me spread the word. Best of luck to you guys on the project. Best of luck to you guys with the podcast and graduation. Congrats, boys.
No, thank you, Federico. I mean, we are grateful to you. And actually, we lied. There is one more question that I really, really want to ask you. If you could have an athlete or an ambassador for BodyArmor that is not playing anymore, and you can't use, Michael Jordan, because I know that's probably what you were going to say, who would it be?
No, it would be the guy right here. I wouldn't change that. Kobe means everything to us. We've adopted his mindset, his philosophy. He brings to life the BodyArmor brand. Jordan was my hero growing up, but like I told you at the beginning, Kobe perfected the art. He wrote it down. Here's the book. I don't know if you've read Mamba Mentality, but he perfected the art of being a beast on the court, but also, like, he was a beast on the court, not only during games. He practiced like he was on a game, in a game every single day. And that's what freaked out the majority of the people. I'm sure you've seen the documentary on the Redeem Team. Everyone was like partying in Vegas. I was going out to the gym at 4 a.m. That's what I mean by, being obsessed. So I would pick this guy. I think he's our inspiration. I would not pick another person.
No, yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Federico, for joining us.
Thank you, guys.